Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report coming to you today. I wasn't planning on making a podcast for the day, but I felt the need. I needed to come to y'all and give y'all a podcast. This is episode 28. The Freedom of Speech is the name of this one. And before we begin with the freedom of speech, since some of us still have that freedom of speech, you can reach me at jp8report@gmail.com. I'm on Rumble, I'm on Podbean, I'm on YouTube and Facebook, Apple Podcast, and Stitcher, and a couple more, iHeartRadio, name a few, but I digress. But I really appreciate the support for people out there. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you can subscribe and get notifications from the podcast, go for it, or you hit follow. Like on Podbean, the only thing you can do is follow and listen. You can't comment on it. I wish you could, but that's right. That's what I make emails for. But yeah, don't forget to follow, and then spread the word about my podcast. Okay. JP8 Report, JP8 Report, JP8 Report. Okay, so today's episode is it's episode 28. It's the freedom of speech. And I decided I want to do this morning because when last night, yesterday afternoon, when I got back in from doing some work, I just sat down on my computer, and lo and behold, Dan Bongino was live on Facebook. And I was like, what is this about? So that's a tease. So hold on to that. Okay. So one of the most important part of our Constitution is the Bill of Rights, because if the Congress wouldn't have presented the Bill of Rights, the Constitution would have never been ratified. So you should consider the Bill of Rights, regardless of what other people may say out there. They comprise of the first 5 freedoms. Okay, so the First Amendment of the Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Okay, so when you read that, you hear the or abridging the freedom of speech. So what happened that caused me to make this podcast for the day? So I got home yesterday afternoon, and Dan Bongino, one of the best radio guys out there, since Rush is no longer with us, he was live, and I thought, wow, check this out. So I clicked it. I was listening to him live. I'm like, unbelievable. This is not. He did an interview with the former president. Okay, and a social network site scrubbed it off their platform. I mean, I listened to the podcast yesterday from him. He's at rumble.com/Bongino. You can watch it. It hasn't been scrubbed off of there, and there was nothing wrong with the whole interview. It seems like these people have such disdain for the former president that if you even mention his name, they'll scrub you off. They'll wipe it clean, erase it, deplatform it. And yesterday he was ranting and raving about what had happened yesterday after he published his podcast. His podcasts are published every day at 12 noon Central. 12 noon Eastern. Okay, that's what he put on his Facebook Live yesterday. But they wiped it. I mean, ridiculous. Where is the freedom of speech in our country? So Dan Bongino, I mean, he's down to earth. People like him. He's a conservative. He's got a nationally syndicated radio show that starts on May 24th. The guy was a police officer in New York City, and he protected President Obama. He was on a PPD of the U.S. Secret Service. You know, it ain't like he's a fanatic anywhere. He's down to earth. He knows what he's talking about. But the fact is, the former president was in there. They scrubbed it. But that's not the only thing. You know, we have the freedom of speech in our country. We can say what we want and where we want. We may not always agree with it. You can always ignore that person when they're actually talking. Change the channel, go to a different URL, do what you need to do. But the fact is, you got these social media platforms out there. I'm not going to name them by name, but we all know who they are. They're acting like they're newspapers with editorial comment. Well, you know, with editorial comment, how do you publish editorial comment? Well, when you want to publish editorial comment, you have people subscribe to your paper. You pay. Like in my local area, I think we pay $137 a year for a daily subscription to the newspaper. Well, you know, that means I get to actually read the editorials if I want, the opinion pages if I want. You know, and if I don't want it, I can just put it in a recycle bin. But these social networking places are free. They're not charging anybody any money. They're not, and it's supposed to be a public platform for social networking. You know, if you want to edit, if you want to execute editorial comment, you know, you should charge for that and close your site down so you can control what's on and on there. You know, it's not just Dan Bongino. You got guys like James O'Keefe with Project Veritas. You know, he got deplatformed. He's suing them. He's suing the socks off of them. And then Tom Fitton, oh my goodness, you know, James O'Keefe is a really good lawyer. He knows what he's doing. Okay. But you are sadly mistaken if you are going to go out there and attack Tom Fitton's Judicial Watch and ban him off your platform. Who do you think you are? If in our country we have the freedom of speech, okay, no public platform out there should, and they should not be exercising editorial comment on a freedom of speech. Why would you purposely block a former president from talking? It used to be tradition that former presidents went silent after they left office. But until recently with Obama, that went out the window. Nobody does that anymore. Hold on just a second. I got to do something here. There you go. Had to put my computer on mute. I heard it bing a while ago. But, you know, you're going to go after Judicial Watch. You're out of your mind, okay? A very experienced lawyer team headed by Mr. Fitton. But these guys you got really good conservatives out there doing broadcast, freedom of speech stuff, telling people how it is in their belief, okay? And, you know, I may believe different than a Democrat, but I have that right. But if you look at it, how many left-leaning or liberal institutions have been banned off of social networking sites? Hello? Anybody there? Am I hearing crickets? Because I haven't heard any. I haven't heard any at all. You know, ask the New York Post. Okay, they put out they put out a report, a true report on the current president's son, and um, the social networking platform with a little birdie on it that I refuse to subscribe. And if it costs me subscribers to my own podcast, I really don't care, because I won't do business with them. I don't have an account with them. I'm free of them. They can jump off a cliff for all I care. But they blocked the New York Post for several weeks because they wouldn't retract a true report on the current president. Well, then it was a candidate's son, but the former president was blocked. You got conservatives who are blocked on a daily basis, and but you don't hear nothing about liberals and the lies, the blatant lies and disrespect and the bias and the racist comments that come out of their mouths almost on an hourly basis. It's like they just hate us. They hate us, and they just want to do their best. That's why you see these HR1 bills coming across, and these bills banning weapons, and these bills limiting your freedom of speech. They're trying to bankrupt our country and shame us into being obedient to their needs, when we have that right, and we were guaranteed the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. It gives us the freedom of speech. My suggestion to the people out there that operate them: if you don't want us to speak, and you want to ban us, and you want to exercise that authority, close your site down and charge money, and see how many people actually stay on your site. And my next suggestion is to the people that supposedly represent us in Austin and in Washington, D.C., and the other capitals of the United States. Yes, there's more than one state in the United States, okay? But whether it be Baton Rouge or Little Rock or Conway or Oklahoma City or Santa Fe, I just named all the states that surround Texas. But pass social media reform, internet reform, and enforce our standards to give the freedoms to our citizens, and make them reform Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act and hold them liable. Okay, make them, if they're not going to charge for their services, make them be public for people to able to communicate on. And I hear this all the time. Well, if we unregulate the Facebook and them, people are just going to blatantly go out there and say what they want, and they're going to bully people. Well, you know what? Bullying happens anyway. Okay? You confront a bully and you deal with them. Okay? You can't limit the freedom of speech for people around the United States and around the world. You look at these social media platforms, and you see them in China, and you see them in India, you see them in Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and Russia. Look at the restrictions they put on those platforms. And they're not a free society, but we are, and we can do better. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what these very huge conglomerate rich social media Democrats are actually doing to our country. They're pitting us against each other, American versus American. Look at it, just saying American versus American. Think back to the 1860s. It was brother against brother, American versus American. These guys just don't care. If it leads, it bleeds. That's all they're concerned with. They get more likes on their network. So it's like, well, if we ban this person, you're gonna get all this extra stuff coming across our platform, and hopefully we'll get more advertising dollars out of it. It don't make sense. And, until you hit these guys in a pocketbook, it's going to continue. Like, that's why a site that I don't endorse and I don't do business with and I don't subscribe to at all, they can go radio listening silence for all I care. That's the only way you stand up to them. And, Facebook, I mean, I deal with Facebook. I do business on Facebook, so I tolerate them. But they need to understand that there's a need for their services, and if they're not going to charge for it, they need to open it up so people can actually. And please stop changing your algorithm. And when you get caught doing something wrong against conservatives, don't say, "Oh, it was a glitch in our algorithm." The glitch is the person behind the keyboard inputting those keys and being biased against conservatives. When you look at their campaign contributions from those social media sites to presidential candidates and political parties, why is it like upwards to about 95% of it is always going to liberal candidates? Always. And then, like I was saying earlier, how many of them are actually been banned, taken down off their deplatformed permanently? Wait a minute, I'm listening. Oh, wow, that must be crickets, because I still don't hear nothing. JP8 Report at gmail.com. And I still ain't receiving anything. Because these guys, they're all about one thing. They're all about the Benjamins. And they could care less about the individual freedoms of Americans. They're environmentalists. They're liberals. They talk a good game, but in the end, they don't care about the individual rights of Americans. They don't. They don't. If they did, you'd see a different mentality out of them. Half of them are located in San Francisco. Look at the conditions on the ground in San Francisco. Why do you think people are steadily fleeing that city and the cities around them and getting out of there? Look at the homeless situation of the people that are in San Francisco, and kids that have to walk by them, their camps, to be able to go to school, to learn, hopefully learn. It doesn't make sense. They're just out of control. They're out of control business, and I know I'm the last person to advocate for regulations. That industry, the social media industry, needs to be regulated. If they're going to provide a free service, they need to be out there and provide a free service and allow the free exercise of speech to happen. Other than that, they can all go out of business. I don't care who they are, because I have that right. Me, as an American combat veteran, I fought for that right. I fought for that for you to be able to, let me go to the camera, for you to be able to speak whichever tone you want, whether it be foul language or good language, very advantageous or adverbs or emphatic. I'm getting out of control here, but that's your right. We fought for that right. Friends of mine died for that right. And we don't need companies out there that regulate people like Dan Bongino from his radio show, from his podcast, deplatforming people. If you want to see the response he's going to give today, I cannot wait to hear it. You go to Bongino, what is it? You go to rumble.com/Bongino at 12 o'clock Eastern today. That's when his podcast should be up. He says it should be an enlightening experience today. Okay? So I'll leave it at that. I hope everybody has a great day today. remember we fought and died for those rights. So the only way we can the only way they can take those rights away from us is if we allow them to. One way to do that, and I'll tell you again, vote, vote, vote. Vote Republican, vote Republican, vote Republican, and just keep voting Republicans so you get the Democrats out of office and get this mentality, this victim mentality out of our country, and we can take it back and get the rights of the people so they can live their lives the way they want to live them. Okay? So listen to Dan Bongino this afternoon at 12 o'clock at rumble.com/Bongino. That's Bongino. Okay? Don't let these guys succeed, because you know what? We need to win. We have to win. Our country depends on us winning. Okay? And maybe in a couple of days I'll do another podcast on that fiasco of a joint session of Congress speech that I heard Wednesday evening. Well, only 200 people all masked up in the Congress listening to Joe Biden on his spending spree he wants to keep doing. And 200 people, that is not a joint session of Congress. That isn't. That's a laughing stock to the world. But that's on another subject. Right now we're dealing with the freedom of speech. And I'll say it one more time. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. And with that, I bid everybody a great day. Subscribe and share this out. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report. I'm out.